The Oval Office, February 28, 2025. A room steeped in history, now a crucible of international tension. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, a wartime leader, stood before U.S. President Donald Trump. The cameras flashed, capturing the initial pleasantries. But behind the smiles, a storm brewed. This was supposed to be a routine meeting, a chance to solidify the U.S.-Ukraine partnership. Instead, it became an explosive confrontation, laying bare the fault lines in a relationship strained by war. Zelensky, weary from the ongoing conflict in his homeland, had come seeking continued support. He sought assurances of American commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty. He needed more military aid, a lifeline for his nation battling Russian aggression. He hoped to finalize a critical minerals agreement, a symbol of economic cooperation amidst the chaos. Trump, however, had other plans. The mood shifted quickly. Gone were the diplomatic niceties. Trump, known for his unpredictable demeanor, turned confrontational. His voice, usually booming, took on a sharp edge. He accused Zelensky of mismanaging the war, of being too reliant on American support. The room seemed to shrink, the air thick with unspoken accusations. Zelensky listened, his face a mask of composure. He had faced down a dictator, stared down the barrel of a Russian invasion. He would not be cowed by Trump's bluster. But the tension was palpable. Every word, every gesture seemed amplified, a dangerous dance on the edge of a diplomatic abyss. Trump's accusations turned into demands. He wanted gratitude. He reminded Zelensky of the billions in aid the U.S. had provided, implying that Ukraine was beholden to him personally. He insisted that Zelensky begin peace negotiations with Russia, regardless of the cost. He even suggested that Ukraine was risking World War III by continuing to resist. The message was clear: fall in line or face the consequences. Trump, echoing the rhetoric of his new vice president J.D. Vance, painted Zelensky as ungrateful, as a supplicant begging at the table of American generosity. He seemed to forget, or perhaps chose to ignore, that Ukraine was fighting not just for its own survival, but for the principles of democracy and freedom that America claimed to champion. Zelensky, though, refused to back down. He spoke of the sacrifices his people had made, of the thousands who had died defending their homeland. He reminded Trump of Russia's aggression, of the broken promises and shattered peace agreements. He emphasized that Ukraine was not asking for a blank check, but for the means to defend itself, to secure its own future. He would negotiate, he said, but not from a position of weakness, not while Russian troops occupied Ukrainian soil, not while the very existence of his nation hung in the balance. His message was clear: Ukraine would not be bullied into submission. The meeting, meant to last for hours, ended abruptly after just under an hour. No agreement was signed, no joint press conference was held. Trump, visibly agitated, reportedly asked Zelensky to leave. As the Ukrainian delegation was ushered out, the weight of the encounter hung heavy in the air. The carefully constructed facade of unity had crumbled, revealing the raw anger and resentment simmering beneath the surface. Later, Trump took to social media, his preferred battleground, to lambast Zelensky. He called him unprepared and disrespectful, echoing his earlier accusations. The White House, in a terse statement, announced that further engagements that day would be counterproductive. The message was clear: the relationship was in tatters. The world watched in astonishment as the news of the meeting broke. Global leaders, many of whom had come to rely on the United States as a guarantor of international security, were left reeling. The incident sparked a firestorm of condemnation, with many expressing deep concern over the implications for global stability. From London to Paris to Berlin, messages of support poured in for Zelensky. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer called Trump's behavior appalling and reaffirmed the UK's unwavering support for Ukraine. French President Emmanuel Macron expressed solidarity with Zelensky and condemned Trump's unilateralism. The European Union, through its foreign policy chief, issued a statement denouncing Trump's actions and pledging continued assistance to Ukraine. The contrast was stark. In Washington, Zelensky had been met with hostility and ultimatums. In London, where he traveled immediately after his disastrous meeting with Trump, he received a hero's welcome. Prime Minister Starmer greeted him with open arms, pledging the UK's full backing in the fight against Russian aggression. Across Europe, symbols of solidarity with Ukraine emerged. The Eiffel Tower was lit up in the blue and yellow of the Ukrainian flag. German Chancellor Annalena Baerbock announced additional financial aid for Ukraine. The message was clear: even as America wavered, Europe stood firm. The ramifications of the White House showdown extended far beyond the immediate diplomatic fallout. The incident raised serious questions about America's commitment to its allies, its willingness to confront aggression, and its role as a leader on the world stage. The breakdown of the US-Ukraine relationship, once seen as a bulwark against Russian expansionism, sent shockwaves through the international community. It emboldened adversaries like Russia, who saw an opportunity to exploit divisions within the Western alliance. It left allies questioning America's reliability, wondering if they could still count on US support in times of crisis. As the dust settled, the future of US-Ukraine relations remained uncertain. The minerals agreement, intended as a symbol of partnership, was left in limbo. Discussions within the US government about future military aid to Ukraine were reportedly tense, with some voices echoing Trump's calls for a reduction in support. Zelensky, however, remained defiant. He refused to apologize for his stance, reiterating the importance of continued US support for Ukraine's sovereignty and security. He expressed hope that the relationship could be salvaged, that cooler heads would prevail. But for now, the damage was done. The world watched, holding its breath, wondering if this was the beginning of a new, more dangerous chapter in international relations.